All right, listen to the birds. So yesterday I made an Instagram post and I mentioned that I was not going to deal with trying to convert my bike to single speed because it was just one thing too many. And then after I made that decision, I just felt like this relief. A lot of times, a good way to make a decision is flip a coin, and if it lands the way that you wanted, you'll know that was the right thing. Anyway, but last night I started thinking about, I wanted to share how Zen is a lot about removal and not this and not that. There's a very famous saying in Zen, not Zen. When somebody's doing something, not Zen. I'm like, well, what is? They're like, not that. And that comes somewhat from when the Chinese pre-version of Zen, here's where we practice trail running. We walk it so I don't trip in a hole and then break an arm. And then the walk break is useful, makes you run faster once you start running again. Now watch me trip and fall. Okay. Running through the flowers. Let's go to Magic Mountain, Charlie. But Japanese culture, especially at that time, was rich with discipline. That's all you hear about. Samurai warrior code and all this stuff. A lot of discipline is not doing things. Not this and not that. Remove. So you can see the combination of the culture and then the philosophy of getting down to reality and the real source of things is remove things and stop doing stuff to get down to your true self. Got a banana peel? Somebody's trying to make us fall down. And people get really frustrated trying to study Zen because there's also the combination of, they say it's not this and it's not that. You know, that's the wrong answer to the question, what's the sound of one hand clapping? That's not the right answer. Well, what is it? Well, not that. People get really frustrated. Well, the answer is really dependent on you and your real self, an original answer that's comes from you, and you can't have that unless you remove a bunch of stuff. That's possible. So if I told you what the answer is, then that's my answer, for example. And you can tell somebody's practiced in Zen by not having to give, I don't have to tell you the answer. I don't feel the need. And I'm okay with that. A lot of Zen is being okay with not knowing, right? Because how could you know anyway? You can't know everything. Are you okay with that? Or one time I was talking with Rich Roll and I said, you have to say you don't know what you're doing. And he looked at me and he was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, or however he said it. And then we both just sat there and kind of stared at each other. I was like, yeah, me neither. Oh, it felt so good. Anyway, you have to be okay with that. We really don't know what we're doing until after it's done. Then you can define it, maybe, from that perspective. Look at the fog. This is kind of special. Hold on. Fog rising from the field. That's neat. But anyway, in Western culture, there's something similar that I thought about. That I learned from the Preppy Handbook, which is this hilariously good, insightful, tongue-in-cheek peek at the world of preppies and their whole culture. And the book's really hard to find. It's I think it's out of print, and it's published in the 70s. But there's this section about like old money versus new money. You can tell new money because they show it off. Old money doesn't advertise. So new money, or people that are desperate, will put their names all over everything and buy fancy stuff so you can see. And old money doesn't need to do that. And also to hold on, the reason they're old money is they've managed to hold on to it. So there's a little bit there of not making themselves a target. And keep it on the down low that they're wealthy. I had an uncle that was extremely wealthy, and he drove like a old Taurus wagon and wore overalls. You would know it. That's how you stay wealthy and don't lose it. Anyway, one of the things in the book that was really interesting was a guide on how to dress for parties. And so preppies are generally conservative. And the guide, this was for women, but it could apply, like, men don't wear necklaces or extra pinky rings or anything like that. But the real point was that the thing of note was the guide for women was get all dressed up, put on the amount of jewelry, so your necklace and your earrings and whatever, that you're gonna wear. Now remove one thing, one piece of jewelry, and that's how you dress appropriately, like old money. And with class is their point. And whether you agree with that or not, what's interesting, look at these flowers, man. So pretty. Yeah. Oh, hummingbird fuels. Oh, let's finish it off. Wait. Hold on. Hummingbird fuels. There we go. Whether you agree with that, preppy culture, it aggravates you. I love it. I learned a lot from it. It's pretty funny. I grew up in a mix of that. Like, we lived down the road from one of the world's biggest country clubs, and we could have joined. But my parents were like, well, we'd rather go sailing instead of spending our weekends at the country club. So, which one's more preppy? I don't know. Sailing? Probably. I don't know. I can tell you which one's more for introverts. Socializing at a country club or sailing with just a couple people out on a lake out in the middle of nowhere or on the ocean. So anyway, there's a fear that you feel when you remove one thing. You know, it was all perfect, but then you remove something. So while you're making that decision, it's hard. You're like, yeah, but I need this, you know. So to overcome that fear of removal, then when you go to the party, let's say a race or whatever, there's a feeling of lightness that you're not having to deal with that one thing, and allows you to function better. So when I was sitting there, I realized putting my bike together and trying to figure out when I'm going to take it to the shop to figure out all the single speed stuff. But I'm on a bike that's already complicated with issues that are I'm unsure of and untested. And I'm like, you know, with practice, you start to realize the signs. And I was like, well, this is too much. Too much. And it came to my mind, both a mix of the Zen, what is Zen, not this, and the traffic lights make me think about roundabouts are also Zen. What's not Zen is this intersection with lights and complicated signs and all kinds of crap. When let's let this car go. Come on back. When a roundabout's just simple, you know, people are like, what are we gonna do without all the signs and the lights? What do I do? It's like, just drive, stay in your lane. And then also from the Preppy handbook of simplify, remove the excess. We as humans push everything to the limit, and we don't know we're at the limit. I mentioned that the other day. We don't know we're at the limit until we've hit it. And it's too late. So one way to not hit the limit is just to remove something right here and right there. So planning on racing this weekend. And I'm gonna race it geared instead of single speed. And we'll see. I've entered a category called flat bar because my bike is a flat bar bike. So that's fun. That's one of the many complications, right? I'm already doing that. Okay. Let's get to the house and go to work. Bye.